What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how I hardwired my dash cam in my Elantra GT and some of the supplies that are necessary and how I ran the cable, since that's a common question when wiring anything to the fuse panel. Now, as far as supplies goes, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need the Micro 2 fuse taps. Mine came with a 15 amp fuse installed. You don't need to use the 15 amp. You can go ahead and change that to your discretion. But I recommend using probably at least a 10 amp fuse for the dash cam. Now you're also going to need a dash cam hardwire kit, and a special note for this application is the wiring needs to be at least 85 to 90 inches long for this generation Elantra GT. I know the Vantrue Dashcam hardwiring kit is not long enough, so do not buy that one for, again, this generation Elantra GT. Now, in addition to those two supplies, you're obviously going to need your traditional wiring supplies, so wiring cutter, soldering iron if you plan on soldering the wires together, or just some butt connectors if you plan on doing that. Okay guys, in terms of hardwiring the dashcam to your fuse box, I went ahead and bought this dashcam hardwire power kit. It's just some cheap thing off Amazon. They sell a million different varieties of these, but anyways, it's basically a 12 to 26 volt input all the way down to a 5 volt output, which is this black wire coming out of the right, and that goes up to your dashcam, and I'll show you guys how I'm going to route that in a second. But anyways, here is the power side. For the GT, I use this little nut right here as the ground. Perfect size for the factory, or for the connector that came right on there. You can just unloosen that bolt just a little bit, slip that in, and then go ahead and tighten it back up. It is a 10 millimeter. And in terms of power, I use the power outlets fuse right up here. Went ahead, tapped into that. That is the factory yellow fuse, and it comes with a 15 amp fuse in there. So basically you just want to transfer that yellow one and put it in the front facing slot on the fuse tap. Then obviously I just tapped into the power wire for the dash cam kit, and now I'm going to go ahead and route everything basically around this trim here, up the A pillar, and then across the headliner to the dash cam. But one thing to note when running the wiring up the A pillar is you're going to want to run it with the OEM wiring harness, which is closest to the glass. It's best to use a couple of zip ties if you're able to do that. I use one zip tie near the corner of the headliner when the wiring kind of bends underneath the headliner. That's going to keep the wiring in place running down the factory wiring harness on the A pillar, and it keeps the wiring out of the way in case the side airbag needs to deploy, so nothing gets caught up or anything like that. And before I go ahead and route everything, I just twist tie the excess power wire up right here, and I'm going to mount this little box up in there, kind of like right on the metal right there, just so it's up out of the way and keeps everything a little bit nice and tidier. And I'll go ahead and route the power wire to the dash cam. Alright, so the final result is I got that box taped up in there, tapped into the power outlet fuse right up there, ran the wires behind this, up this trim here, behind the A pillar, and then across the headliner to the dash cam. Everything's super simple. The only minor inconvenience I have is you cannot get the A pillar completely loose. You can only get the first two clips loose, and I just couldn't get this bottom part out, so I kind of just had to wiggle the wires through the A pillar when it was still attached partially. So that's the only problem I ran into, but other than that, run the wires is straightforward and very easy to do. And because the dash cam is powered to the outlets, when you go ahead and turn on the car, dash cam powers up, turns on, and then once the car is turned off, basically the dash cam will run off the battery it has within the dash cam, and then it will go ahead and shut down. If you guys want to power the dash cam in a parking mode, then you'll have to wire the dash cam to a fuse that is hot all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video of how I hardwired my dash cam in my Elantra GT. I'm having to do a little bit of filming after the fact because it's such an easy install that I kind of just went ahead and did it. without filming all the necessary steps. But again, it is very easy. The hardest part about this really is routing the wiring down the A-pillar plastics, given that I could not get it completely removed from the car. But again, as long as you can snake it behind the plastics and at least get it zip tied to the OEM wiring harness, you'll be good to go there. But yeah, that's all there pretty much is to it. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Again, I appreciate all the support on the channel. We're at nearly 5,300 subscribers, so I appreciate all the new viewers if you are a new viewer, and I appreciate all the continued support from the current subscribers. There's a couple things that are being held up due to the virus in terms of just some part installs and stuff like that I'm very excited about, but hopefully by the end of the month I can get all those parts here in my hands so I can go ahead and get them on the car. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it once again. Please hit that like button if you did, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.